Hi class, this is Max and I'm going to presenting the topic of acid rain today. So firstly, let's talk about what is acid rain or the definition of acid rain. First of all, I have to explain that acid rain is not only talk about rains. It's talking about all kinds of acidic precipitations included rain, snow, fog, and so on. And natural precipitations combined with some acidic pollutants such as carbon dioxide in the air to form acid rain. By the definition, acid rain should have a pH value below 5.6. And this is because of unpolluted or natural precipitations will have a pH value around 5.7. In this case, many people will ask, like as we learned before, pH 7 will be the pH value that substances are neutral. But why in this case is 5.7? Actually, this is not because it's neutral in this case. This is because of there's some natural carbon dioxide in the air will do reaction with water to form carbonic acid. And then let's go through the history of acid rain. First of all, as a phenomenon, this is start since the Industrial Revolution, which was 200 or 300 years ago, which is not too historical for us at this moment in 2020. And this shows that acid rain is seriously related to human beings' industrial activities. So just in 70th centuries, which is just after the Industrial Revolution, negative impacts were firstly observed by a person called John Elwin. And here is a picture of him on the top of the slide. The negative impacts here mean that for example, is poor condition or limestones. This is one example. After that, the term acid rain was firstly coined in 1872 by a scientist called Robert Anglesmith. And here's a picture or a photo of the scientist, which is kind of old-fashioned. This means the phenomenon of acidic precipitations was named as acid rain in the year of 1872 by the scientist called Robert. Nowadays, acid rain is presented by Max in 2020, and here's a picture of him. Look, what an awesome person. After that, let's focus on the causes of acid rain. Mainly, as I said before, acid rain is a result of human activities, especially industrial activities or industrial productions, because that will cause a lot of air pollution. And here's are two kinds of substances which are responsible for acid rain. The first one is sulfur dioxide, which is usually polluted by factories and automobiles through the burning of phosphorus. And the second one is nitrogen dioxide, which is also usually released by cars or factories through the burning of phosphorus. So phosphorus is really harmful for our environment. And here's a picture shows the process of the acid rain. So let's go through it. Firstly, there's just some gases, as I said before, such as sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and also carbon dioxide, which is a reaction that I mentioned in the very beginning of this presentation. As we learned in this chemistry class, the particles of gases is able to move freely around, and then after gases were polluted, wind will help them to spread around, and then they can go upward and be closer and closer to water molecules in the air, such as cloud in the air. And with the increasing number of acids that formed by the water and the gas molecules, they will eventually go down to the ground, which is the world that we are living in now, and cause a lot of negative impacts. We will go through that later. But before that, here's the two highlighted chemical balanced equations. The first one shows that sulfur dioxide combines with water to form sulfurous acid, and the second one explains that the nitrogen dioxide combines with water to form nitric acid and nitric oxide, and both of the nitric oxide and sulfurous acid are acids. They are the chemical compositions of acid rings. Now let's go through negative impacts of acid rain. One of the example of the negative impacts is the impacts on ecosystem or on the environment. As I said before, after acid rain fall down on the ground, some of the acidic substance will fall in the lakes, rivers, or even seas. After that, the water body will be polluted, which means the water in the lakes or the rivers will be acidic, and those acidic water is able to kill organisms and water such as fishes and frog. To be more specific, the way of the acidic water to kill frogs is it killing the food of the frogs. With a shortage of food supply, folks will be endangered. That sounds horrible, right? Another example is some negative impacts on sculptures and our infrastructures. This is because of some substance like some acid like sulfuric acid will do reaction with some important materials in the infrastructure or sculptures such as limestone to damage them. And here's the balanced formula. It says that calcium carbonate to combine with sulfuric acid to create, calcium sulfate and water and carbon dioxide. In this case, the main chemical composition, which is calcium carbonate of some stuffs like limestone, is completely gone, which means the material is damaged. Acid rain is an increasingly serious problem around the world. You can find acid rain in a lot of countries around the world, especially countries in East Asia, Europe, North America, as well as some countries in South America and Africa. And here's a very interesting fact: says that as you can see, Canada, the country we are living in now, has acid rain. But unfortunately, most of the acid rain are originally come from United States, which is very close to Canada. So guys, don't blame them. Here's some tips that what should we do to stop acid rain. So basically, what are the scientists suggested us to do is reduce the emission of gases like sulfur dioxide. As we said before, this is one of the gases that is responsible for acid rain. So this will be helpful. And now, different people play different role in the society. So for the government, their responsibility is setting up laws to restrict air pollution. This means that they set up laws to set a standard that how many amount of pollutes that a factory can pollute, or limit the size of the cars, or tell people that what kind of pollutants or harmful acidic gases can only be polluted. And for individuals, individuals should better to take public transport or riding bicycles instead of driving private cars, in order to decrease the emission of harmful gases. If you have to drive your private cars, please pick up more friends, because that will reduce the amount of gases polluted per person. Here's also a special tip for students in the schools, which is we should go to school on Friday, because nowadays here's the activity called Fridays for the Future. That means strike on the Friday in order to protect the environment. But in my opinion, to be honest, we shouldn't do that. We should go to Friday. I like to go to school on Friday. That is nice. We can get a lot of works to do on the weekend. And the most important thing is we can learn chemistries, and then in the future, some of us will solve the problem of acid rain. Okay, and here's a list of references that I cited before, and then the images I used in this presentation. Lastly, thank you guys for listening. Thank you.